I'm delighted to be joined here today by a number of my colleagues who we are all united on a very important issue for New York State, and that is the issue of incentivizing technology transfer and hence job creation. I am the chair of the Emerging Workforce, which is a subcommittee of the Labor Committee. And I teamed up with a number of my colleagues, Francine Del Monte from Western New York, from Niagara, Donna Lopato from Binghamton, Dennis Gabrzak from Cheektowaga. And we held hearings across the state and roundtables on how best to harness New York's assets. And we found that we found over the past year what Assemblyman Magnarelli and Morelli knew all along, because they had a number of bills already, that New York has invested so much in the people of this state in terms of education and higher education that we have one of the most educated workforces across the entire United States. And we are poised to really harness the innovation economy that's emerging in the United States. In addition to that, we spend more on research in New York State per capita than probably any other state in the United States. We pay $4.5 billion roughly towards research. California pays $6.5 billion, but they have twice our population. The difference is, after we put this money into research and we create all these patents and new technologies in the lab, we invest less than any other state in terms of technology transfer. And from taking that new patent and creating a product out of it. So New York, most people don't realize this, is the patent capital of the world. We create more patents within our state's boundaries than any other state in the land. And we're the financial capital of the world. So we have the two resources that, if put together with the educated workforce that we have, should really take off. But that equation is not happening in New York, and we had to try to ascertain why. And what we looked at was many states that have the same kind of tax structures that we have, California, Boston, Massachusetts. They are doing a wonderful job of technology transfer because they've created an environment where technology transfer flourishes. We were extremely excited when, in the beginnings of this budget process, the governor had created a seed fund of $25 million for technology transfer. We were excited that finally New York is going to be taking a step forward. This still wasn't an enormous amount of money compared to what other states put towards this goal, but it was the right step forward. Today we're joining each other because we're concerned that the governor has now amended his budget and has zeroed out that figure. And we're concerned that that is the wrong way to go and a step backwards. So I am personally imploring the governor in a respectful manner. I know that he's dealing with some of the most difficult decisions that any governor has had to deal with in 70 years in closing a $9 billion budget gap on top of a $10 billion budget gap last year. But this is the wrong way to go, because if New York is going to grow its economy, this is where our strengths point to. This is where we can excel, and we need to make sure we move forward on it. I'd like to call up to the microphone somebody that's been doing this a lot longer than the rest of us have, Assemblyman Joe Morelli, who has a number of bills on tech transfer.
Great. Mark, thank you very much for your leadership on this very, very important issue. The fact that I've been around here long just means I'm older and grayer than most of the people here, but we face political and economic challenges in the state. There's no question, or fiscal challenges, political and fiscal challenges. But we face great economic challenges, and those parts of the state, I represent upstate, Mark and many colleagues represent Long Island. Metro New York is represented by many people in our conference. The economic challenges we face as we transition from, for many parts of the state, an industrial economy to an information economy is very important, and there's no greater imperative for us to seize the moment. Time is essentially running out. We're in competition not only with other states in this country, but other countries around the world that are trying to seize the moment to become leaders in high technology. This state has done far too little. I agree with Mark wholeheartedly that there was great promise this year when the governor introduced in his budget the proposal for a technology seed fund. This is something many of us have advocated for a number of years. It is very disappointing that the governor, in seeking to balance the budget within the last 24 hours, has reneged on that commitment. It's something I think my colleagues and I will certainly work very hard to reaffirm as we work through these budget challenges. Access to capital, and the ability to put capital in the hands of entrepreneurs and small businesses who are taking technology. As Assemblyman Alessi alluded to, we are the intellectual property capital of the world, and yet we have far too little in the way of financial resources to take those products, whether they're in a research and development facility, in a university, in some of our larger companies, to be able to take those ideas, those new materials, those new processes, and to commercialize them. And to do that, we need access to capital. So not only the seed fund, but a number of proposals that we've worked on. I appreciate his efforts to continue to push bills that I and others before me have introduced and put into the legislature. But again, there's no greater imperative for the state of New York to seize the opportunity here to create literally a state of innovation, and we're going to work together, this group of people and many more, working with us in the legislature to make sure that that dream becomes a reality. So, Mark, thank you again for your leadership, your power, in your words, and the passion you bring to this subject.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to call up Assemblyman Bill Magnarelli.
Thank you, Mark. I just want to reiterate everything that both Mark and Joe have said already. As the former chair of the Task Force on University and Industry Cooperation, now headed by my colleague, Mr. Gabrizak, I learned that the #1 thing we had to do to create jobs in New York State, meaningful jobs in New York State, was to put industries and our university and higher learning institutions together. And basically, that's what we're talking about here. Technology transfer, little bits of money that mean a great deal to the entrepreneurs in this world. If we could get some of those monies to those people in the research institutions at the very early stages of their development, it makes a whole bunch of difference to what we do down the road. So I, too, back this proposal. I am also very concerned about the governor's taking the small amount of money that was in the budget out of the budget now for this purpose, and I know that I will stand with my colleagues against that and hope that we will be able to put it back in, because I know that it means jobs for New Yorkers. Thank you.